Pokebabs! Hello and welcome to my new channel, which is basically just going to be for Pokemon related things. Definitely TCG, and I don't know, we'll see what all happens, but definitely TCG related stuff for sure. So this first episode, I want to take a look at a deck that I have been playing around with in Standard. I really like it. It's really fun, at least. I don't know if it's necessarily a fantastic deck, but I think I like it a lot. And it was a deck that I was considering using for the upcoming, or now it's happening, Poke Beach tournament for this month. If you don't know, Poke Beach has a tournament every month, and it's 64 player max, and then basically it's just Swiss rounds, and then at the end, whoever has the best record wins prizes. At least this month, there's packs on the line. I actually don't know if they're online packs or if they're physical packs. It's my first tournament entering, but yeah. So this was a deck I was considering. I decided not to go with it for several reasons. Main reason being that I noticed with Fates Collide coming out, I seem to be having some more issues with it. Just, I don't know, weird matchups that didn't really work as well. And the deck struggles against the new metal deck. It struggles with any deck really that has a lot of energy, basic energy specifically. And so, and even item lock. I mean, some item lock it does really well against. Some item locks it struggles against. So. And then certainly mill decks. So other mill decks, it's going to have a hard time with. But I think it really has an answer for almost anything, and it can put up a fighting chance against almost anything, which is what I love about it. So I'm calling the deck Wailord and Friends because the main player, I'm not going to say attacker because you're never going to attack in this deck with it, but the main player is this Wailord-EX. And of course, the big deal about it is it's got 250 HP and it's a basic, so that's what makes it so bulky and viable for this. And the strategy, primarily, I want to say at least 95% of your games are going to be won off of deck out or the player conceding because they know they're going to deck out. I don't know if I've ever actually taken all prizes with this deck, maybe once or twice, but not very often. And so the main guy you want to have in the active position is Wailord. He's going to sit there and just have a lot of HP. That's all it really is. The ability is kind of cool, but doesn't really matter because we're not running basic energies. Or I guess it doesn't have to be a basic energy, but we're never going to really use it because we don't care if we're affected by a special condition. Maybe poison would be the only one, and I've never run into that, but I suppose you could get rid of your poison if you wanted to avoid getting knocked out by attaching one of our energies. So that's what the main idea is there. He's just going to sit there and basically you're just going to try and heal him through various methods, and then slowly your opponent's going to either have to dig through their deck quick to try and take knockouts, or they're going to have to play slow and fall to a lot of the different techs that we have in the deck. So that being said, let's look at some of the other players that we've got in here. We've got two Aegislash-EX. So the big deal here is the Mighty Shield ability. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from each of your opponent's Pokemon that has special energy attached to it. And special energy is pretty big. That's also actually another reason why the deck is struggling. Like I said, there's a lot more decks that use basic energy, so the special energy thing not as helpful anymore. For example, Night March could use basic energies with a new Mew, even though most aren't as of yet. But there's just ways around this now, and Hex Maniac is obviously a thing that we have to keep in mind, but that's why we play two of these in the deck. So the idea being that if they have to Hex Maniac, they're going to have to do it at least twice, and that's if they can get the knockout the first time they do it. And so if we stick something like a Hard Charm on there, which gives us the -20 damage when they attack us, then effectively the HP is 190, which a lot of decks can't really hit. Even Night March is going to struggle to hit that. They might Hex Maniac you and not knock it out, or they're going to, and then if you can't heal it, it still just takes them 2 hits, and they have to Hex you both times. So the idea being you're going to have to run them out of Hex. If nothing else, you're going to run them out of Hex because they're attacking with just Pokemon with DCE attached. There's a Giratina-EX. This one I haven't actually taken it out before, but it's not used a ton. There's certain matchups where it's really fantastic. Mega Manectric being the main one because it can't one-hit you as a Mega, and that's because of this ability here, Renegade Pulse, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Mega Evolution Pokemon. So, in the format right now, Mega Rayquaza, Mega Alakazam actually now, Mega Sceptile, and obviously Mega Manectric. There's a few others in there, but against Mega Manectric, it's really good because even if they Hex you, they're not going to knock you out. So it's kind of the same idea as with the Aegislash, and just forcing your opponent even to use a Hex, because that means they don't get to really do everything else they want to do on their turn, most likely. Okay, so let's see. What else are we going to do about milling them? Well, there's a sort of direct mill approach, and on occasion we're going to get the chance to use Burrow. And that's with this Bunnelby that has the Barrage trait here. So for Colorless, you can Burrow, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. You could Rototiller. Doesn't happen too much in this deck, but there are times maybe when you feel like you need to get a certain card back and you have no other way of doing it. Maybe if you're item locked and you want to get back a supporter, or if you're worried about decking out for some reason. So it's good to avoid the deck out, and it's also good because you can deck them out. And most of the time, I'm going to be dropping this thing down when the opponent is down to 2 cards or less in their deck. So basically, if they have 2 or 1 card left, I might throw this guy down, pick up my active, and then burrow for the win. So that's the situation where that comes in handy. Definitely does. And even just putting on the pressure early with the burrows, you might discard something that's important for your opponent, or it might scare them. You might be able to scare them into kind of overextending to knock this thing out. And even though it's only got 60 HP, it's still a 1 prize knockout. And so that's what's really nice. It gets you that uneven prize trade. So they effectively have to take 7 prizes in a game. There's one other 1 prize, quote-unquote, attacker, because I guess it does attack technically. And that's this Durant, which is really sweet. I love this Durant. In PTCGO, I've used it to win so many games because one strategy that a lot of players will take against Wailord is they'll just accumulate cards in their hand, knowing that they can eventually play N to discard or to shuffle their hand back into their deck and get themselves back down to a low hand size. And in previous formats, or like in the previous Nationals when the player used the Wailord stall deck with Suicune, he had Hue at his advantage, and the Hue essentially forced both players to either draw up to 5 or discard down to 5, but it was a supporter. And the Hue's great, except for it actually, I prefer this Durant because what it does here with this attack, chip off for 1 colorless, discard cards from your opponent's hand at random until he or she has 4 cards in his or her hand. So essentially, if they're just stacking up cards, and I've had this happen so many times, they've got, let's say 16, 17 cards in their hand. You drop down this Durant, chip off, and now they had to, and it's discarded at random. And so that's really key because they don't get to keep all the stuff they want to do, which they were able to do with Hue. So nice in that sense. Also, I can keep my huge hand if I have a huge hand. So it doesn't affect my deck size effectively, but it does affect them. And so knowing when to use the chip off is really important. And a lot of times your opponent's just going to scoop to you when you drop down this guy and chip off. So it's really fun to use chip off. It's my favorite thing in the whole deck, honestly. And then the last Pokemon here we've got is Lugia-EX It's a basic Pokemon, and it's colorless. Uses double colorless energy, which is what's nice about it, and that's specifically why, as we'll get to later, why I'm using double colorless energy. But it's so that we can use this Air Ball attack 20 times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So this is really good if your opponent is just powering up one huge Pokemon. It could be used against metal decks now if they've got a if they've been building up a huge Genesect and you're worried, and you're able to get this off before they actually attack your Wailord, or maybe against a big Eviltal, that type of thing, maybe even opposing Lugia. So that's mostly what it's for. It can also take early prizes, so your opponent puts down a Froakie, and Greninja is actually a pretty bad matchup as well, which is another reason why I didn't choose to use this deck, but your opponent decides to put down Froakie, and so they put an energy on it, and then you would DCE, and then you can knock them out for 60. So that's what's nice there. And the rest of this is really just disruption cards. And so we've got the Enhanced Hammer, so you can knock off your opponent's special energy. Pretty simple. A Heavy Ball's nice. This is just for searching for your Pokemon with 3 retreat cost or more. So that's Wailord, Aegislash, Giratina. So that's pretty helpful. Max Potion's huge. Heal all the damage off your Pokemon, so you're going to get in a lot of situations where your Wailord's got like 200 plus damage on it. Not enough to knock you out, and then you Max Potion all of it off. And then we got a Trick Shovel just to get rid of an opponent's card. That's really fun to mess around with. I've played with 2 before, but I decided to add in this new supporter, Team Rocket's Handiwork, because I think it just seems like too much fun. It's a fun deck, and so we want to add more fun to it. So with Team Rocket's Handiwork, you flip 2 coins. For each heads, discard 2 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. Just insane. I mean, you can take games that way, mix that with Bunnelby, that type of thing. Could be a lot of fun. Got other supporters for picking up your Pokemon. AZ is great. Cassius, I actually like sometimes more, because if you've got a hard charm on one of your Pokemon, you don't want to discard that with the AZ, or if there's energy on a Lugia, that type of thing. So nice to be able to just shuffle it back into the deck. You know, you can have it back later, and it also helps so that you don't deck out. Lysandre, I upped the count to 3 more recently, and that's mostly just because I was always wondering where it was. I was like, I need this Lysandre. Shauna, I've got 2 Shauna and 1 N, so this is important so that you don't deck out. But with N back in the format, I added an N. Maybe it would be good to play 2 N, 1 Shauna, or maybe no Shauna. I don't know. It depends. Mess around with it and see what you like. Pokemon Fan Club is really important for getting out your Pokemon early, especially if you want to grab 2 Wailords, Wailord and a Bunnelby, Durant and Wailord. Just all these different combinations you're going to run into. Skyla to pick up all these other cards. It's super good against item lock. You can Skyla for something like a Rough Seas, or you can Skyla for a supporter that you need to use the next turn because you know you have time. And then here's our Rough Seas, like I was mentioning. The Rough Seas is great because it's going to heal you over time, and so it's really just for healing the Wailord, but that's mainly who you have in the active. Then if you have it on the bench, you know, you're healing both at the same time. Really nice. We've got Puzzles of Time, another thing you can grab with Skyla, and they help you get back so many important cards. Every card in here is important to some extent, and so whatever one you need, you grab back. Team Flare Grunt, huge. Get rid of your opponent's energy on the active Pokemon. Very helpful. And the hard charm I kind of discussed earlier, you've got via Seeker to get back all your supporters, and then the 2 double colorless, specifically using double colorless because of Lugia. Otherwise, I could use any basic energy. There's different builds of this, but experiment with it how you like, and we're going to go into a few matches here. So let's check that out. Alrighty, so let's get into a game with this Wailord and Friends deck. Going up against Lost Boy PL. And the typings make me think that this could be a Vespiquen Vileplume. We go first, which, if it is Vespiquen Vileplume, is really helpful. And we don't get anything, which is not too bad. So yeah, the nice thing about this deck is going first or second, like in general, doesn't really matter. And I always like decks that don't mind going second. especially since if they draw the first card, if they want to just draw past the whole game, you're still going to win. That type of thing. But or if they go first and I start something like a Bunnelby, then they might overextend their first turn, thinking that the deck isn't Wailord essentially. So we have Durant and a Wailord. I'm going to start Wailord. I'm a little concerned if this is Vespiquen Vileplume, that we don't have an out. But Vespiquen Vileplume is like basically an auto win if you get an Aegislash out. Because even if they have a way around Aegislash, that's why you play 2. So, and we top deck the Aegislash. So I'm feeling a lot better now. And then we bench Aegislash. We've got Wailord out. Just throw a Hard Charm on there. Not you again. Oh, I think I've played this guy before. Yep. And he just makes this even more annoying. This is Lysandre. So now the chance of him taking a knockout on the Wailord isn't even that likely. We'll just end our turn. So if he doesn't have a way around the Mighty Shield, then he loses. He really does. Because he can knock out the Wailord and then what? Want to try a one-hit KO? I'm not sure what he means. I think he means he's going to knock me out in one hit. Go for it. I don't think it's anywhere unreasonable that he could one-hit KO me. But he'll go for it. With an effective 270 HP, he's only got to get... let's see. I'm trying to do the math. But 270, so basically 280. Unless he plays something weird. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to be able to get a lot. Okay, what? I thought he was going for the one-hit KO, but he's decided to go for a Vileplume. Okay. But yeah, this matchup is really good, and that's actually part of the reason why. Another reason why there's 2 of the Aegislash is because just a better chance of getting it in your turn 1. That's also why there's 3 fan clubs. So if I need to grab an Aegislash turn 1, I have a good chance of starting with a fan club. The Heavy Ball too. So I mean, there's a lot of ways into the Aegislash because Aegislash can win you the game in certain matchups. Vespiquen Vileplume being one. Latios Vileplume also very similar type of thing. He's laughing probably because, okay, got a Shaman. So I guess he's laughing because it worked out. But it seems like he's going to play this out. But I got a feeling that he doesn't have an out. Even if they had something like, if they had Silent Lab, that would be a little scarier because I'd have to bump the stadium. But we play 4 stadiums. And most don't play Silent Lab. Even though I could see it as being a one of in these types of decks. But yeah, the power of the Aegislash can be just too hard to deal with, especially if you item lock yourself and you don't play Hex. And then obviously there's the Toxicroak option, but the Toxicroak option doesn't bother me that much because I can Max Potion. Or I can just AZ. I mean, I've got lots of ways around it. So he's digging deep. Plays Lysandre, so it's not, I mean, which is not that uncommon. Level ball. Nothing too weird here. Ultra Ball. He's going to Trainer's Mail. Battle Compressor. I think he's just going for the one-hit KO. Or he could be surprising me. He's going to have a Hex. Like, he one-hit KOs the Wailord, and then I just kind of don't. I just drop pass, and then he has a Hex. That'd be funny. Going for another Shaman. Presumably. Ultra Ball, 2 Ultra Balls. Shaman up to 6. Or setup. Setup up to 6. Puts down the Float Stone, which would be good in most games. The fact that he's playing this out like a normal setup is kind of odd to me. It makes me think maybe he faced me earlier and I was playing this and he was like, I need to put in a tech to beat Aegislash. Maybe. I'm not sure. So let's see if he gets the knockout. I didn't do the math. Kind of just want to watch and see if it happens. He does get it. He had to do a lot. Yeah. And an N. I guess I'll play N because I want to. I mean, if there is some weird out, I just want to make sure that I can try and get out the other Aegislash. Sure, we'll put down Rough Seas. Starting to think that 1 Hex might be good. Yeah, or 1 Silent Lab. So he doesn't have Hex, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have Silent Lab. So I'm not actually worried really anymore, but if we need to, we could Fan Club. The other cool thing about this deck is even if you don't necessarily get set up quite like you want to against them, they dig through so much of their deck. At this point, I could, you know, Lysandre something and then just use Bunnelby. But I don't know what he's doing. Lost boy, what you doing? I have no basic energy. I figured. Maybe put in 2? Maybe. Another fun inclusion in this deck might be a Fighting Fairy Belt, because then you can knock out stuff with 90 HP that has a DC if your Lugia has a DC, but then also it helps your Wailords be buffer. But in general, I like the Hard Charm more, and that's mostly just because you're deterring the damage every turn. So while it's nice to have 40 extra HP, it doesn't really help that much when they're trying to knock you out every turn. Like if especially if it's a deck that's doing chip damage to you, and we see the victory screen. Not a huge surprise, but that's pretty funny, and that it just goes to show you how not Wailord isn't even always how you win the games, and so that's why it's Wailord and Friends. Alrighty, so we're going up against Charm, and those typings look a lot like Night March. Not necessarily. Water could be Night March. Could be the Melodic. So Wailord's a good start, though, if it is Night March. Especially with the Hard Charm in hand. Oh, it's a Manectric. Okay, so there goes the Hard Charm idea. I don't really want to put that down. Let's get rid of something. Water energy. If it's a Mega Manectric, that might not mean much. And now I'm thinking it is a Mega Manectric. The Psychic, I wonder what that is. Could be a Mew. Or, could be Bats. Yeah, what the heck, let's go for a Handiwork. Tails, Heads. We don't really learn anything about the deck from that, and we're just going to end. So the Hard Charm, maybe the Hard Charm would have been good to put down, so the Overrun did 0 damage. But then the Assault Edge is going to do 60 more damage, so that's where you don't want to do it. And doesn't look like it matters because he's going to try and Mega Evolve probably first anyway. Smeargle. Whoa. Wait. Is this Mega Manectric Ho-Oh? Then when the Psychic would be Hoopa? Lysandre. From the Trainer's Mail. Grass, yep. It's got to be Mega Manectric Ho-Oh. I don't know what else this could be. Which is interesting. If there isn't a grass attacker, then I think it's a decent matchup. Everything right now is pointing to Mega Manectric Ho-Oh, which is awesome. Another Trainer's Mail. Looks like they failed. And an overrun for 20. Let's just Handiwork. No, because if we get rid of energy, that's what they want. But I don't really have anything else I want to do. Let's just Handiwork. It's just too fun to play this card. But 2 tails would be a bummer. Alright. That's the downside of it. And I get the Mega Manectric. So now I can feel free to put down the Hard Charm. And I Sycamore again, which is good for me. The Lightning, or the Manectric on the bench. Hits for 110. The nice thing is they can't take a knockout. I don't think they can take a knockout next turn. Even if I put the Hard Charm down, so that's what I'm going to. If I had another Pokemon, I'd AZ, but if I get a... They could take the knockout. Well, no, I don't think they can. It'd be really, really hard. So we're just going to Shauna. Rough Seas for sure. Giratina is nice, but I want to hold on to it so they don't know I have it. Because this deck really can't do 150. Unless they play Muscle Band on a Ho-Oh, which isn't powered up yet. So I'm not worried about it. There's an Ultra Ball, and I think we're going to see the Ho-Oh here. Yep. So in case you don't know what that does, pretty cool. Elemental Feather does 130 and 30 to the bench, so kind of reminiscent of Darkrai EX, but more damage to the active. But the energy cost is just atrocious looking. But it's not that hard to power up with this deck, especially when you've got stuff like Smeargle that can help you out. So he's getting powered up to put that on there. And we're at 60, so it's a little dicey now. I'm not afraid to put down the Lugia. It's weak though, so we're gonna Rough Seas, but I don't think it matters. So I only have 90 HP left. He's gonna retreat and go for knockout. I'm gonna put down the Giratina just so we have another Pokemon down. We're gonna play a Shauna. Maybe I should have put a Hard Charm, and we get okay. That's amazing. Okay, so we got the Max Potion. So that saves us for at least another turn, probably 2. He's down to 19 cards. That's the encouraging thing. Would have been nice if he had to put down a Hoopa, though. So we're going to see the Elemental Feather. Doing 110 and 30. And we're definitely going to Fan Club. Grab another Wailord. And Aegislash is useless. Bunnelby. And we'll grab a Bunnelby because we have the DCE in hand. And next turn, we can start to burrow. Just because. In fact, I actually want to put it down so that he's tempted to Lysandre it. But he could just knock it out as on the bench. So I'm actually just going to wait. Because 2 hits from the Elemental Feather on the Bunnelby knocks it out. So we see the Elemental Feather. Just going to hit the Giratina. Yep. So we're up pretty high there in damage. Alright, so now we could try and hit with a Lugia, but then I think we just get knocked out with Mega Manectric. So the Lugia could take a knockout in 2 hits, but in 2 turns, but they have the Manectrics out. So we're just gonna Bunnelby because I just don't see why I wouldn't now. Like I may not have a chance to do it later, and it's a 1 prize. So if they take the prize, it doesn't bother me all that much. Put down Wailord again. Puzzle is just sitting there. We'll burrow. Ultra Ball. It's kind of nice. VS Seeker is what we're looking for. And Spirit Link's not helpful. So they're down 2 VS Seeker. 3 Sycamore, Lysandre. He keeps hitting that Giratina, which is a little scary because I think he can take a knockout on it pretty easily. Well, if he had the Lysandre, I wonder if he would have gone for it if he had the Lysandre. So we have VS Seeker. We could VS Seeker for a Shauna. That sounds good. I just don't like this hand at all. And the Handiwork did not work out so well last time. Plus that would be left with nothing really. So we're just going to do that. And, ooh, I like this hand a lot. I really like this hand. So it looked like there was, I don't think the Durant was in the deck, which is too bad. So most likely we're not going to get knocked out here. 150, yeah, unless he plays Muscle Band. We already see that there's Fighting Fairy Belt, so it just seems more likely it's going to be Fighting Fairy Belt. We can discard an energy, force them to go into Mega Manectric, and then it just takes more turns. Or we could Lysandre the Smeargle, which forces the retreat. Which I kind of like. I was hoping for a Hoopa to come down. These puzzles. These puzzles, man. What do I do? It's like too nice to have them. We're just going to stall 1 turn. Because we already have the Max Potion. It's like the Flare Grunt might have been a good option too. But since we're going to Max Potion this turn, we can Flare Grunt this turn. And then it makes things a little more awkward. And we're going to have to actually Max Potion the... Ooh, it's Giovanni's Scheme. And he gets a knockout, so that is bad. That's very bad. That is very bad. I would definitely have to Max Potion still. Oh my gosh, the last puzzle. This is ridiculous. This is insane. This is insane. I just don't think I need anything right now. As weird as that sounds. Doesn't matter which we discard, I don't think. So the interesting thing is we haven't seen any fire energy. So that they can use Purifying Flame or Fire. Alright, so the Giovanni Scheme worries me now. Now that I know it's there, it's like, could do 150 at any moment. So maybe it would have been wise to grab a hard charm last turn. But I think we can just grab it this turn. Then he can't do 150 for the knockout. So we're going to have a hard charm and probably just a max potion. And then next turn we can figure out what we want to do after that. Or I could even double puzzle again right now. No. I gotta wait and just see what happens, I think. So a Lysandre could win the game. A Lysandre plus a Fighting Fury belt. Or it wouldn't win the game, actually. It would just bring him to one prize. It's conserving resources pretty well, though. I mean, no ends played and not only the 2 via Seeker. So another Flare Grunt. I'm going to Rough Seas even though I have to Max Potion. So we're just going to Max Potion. If he wants to take the knockout on the Giratina, it doesn't bother me all that much. We're going to Team Flare Grunt. Just make things even more awkward. There's... I mean... Let's get rid of a water, actually. It's probably not much more than 3 water. Oh, the Smeargle, yeah. Duh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so it really doesn't matter what I get rid of. If they have an attachment. As I was hoping there was not an attachment. It's not too likely either. We see another elemental feather, and I'm gonna Rough Seas. So let's see how many energy have been used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's probably more energy, unfortunately. So Lysandre would only delay things a little bit, or it wouldn't delay things. It would just burn in energy. But I kind of still like that idea. Because the max potion's not necessary yet. And if I just Flare Grunt, then he's gonna just retreat. So we'll Lysandre. It would have been really helpful if there was a Hoopa down on the field though, which I'm pretty sure is what the psychic typing was in the deck. Yep. Fighting Fury belt. So we see the elemental feather. We get a Xerosic. Not too helpful. And we definitely have to double puzzle and grab a max potion. I think we're going to grab a Shauna. So this is why Shauna is helpful over N, because I don't really want to shuffle his hand back in. I mean, there's a... Probably doesn't matter, but I don't want to. If we could Lysandre, though. We could Lysandre one more time and hope there's not an energy, but... That's kind of tempting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... 8, 9, 10, 11. And it's probably more energy, though. We're just going to grab Shauna. All max potion. So, even though we've max potioned 4 times, I think, we only used 2 of the actual cards. So, that's nice. Then we're going to Shauna, and we get another Wailord with a hard charm, which is sweet. Other cards, not as helpful. The 50 HP, maybe I should have put a hard charm on Giratina, but I've kind of resigned to the fact that Giratina's gone. I wonder if that Lysandre was necessary. I could Skyla for a Max Potion. That'd be kind of cheeky. So, shoot. Well, the Giovanni scheme can knock out the active, though. So you can do 160. So I actually think I have to Max Potion the active, which is a little annoying. The Giratina is just not going to help that much. I'd rather just sit on Wailords all day. Especially with only 8 cards left. So, we've used 2 VS Seeker, so like Team Rocket's Handiwork could come into play at some point and be really important. Especially since after this, I'm going to Flare Grunt. Might have another energy though in hand. I wouldn't be super surprised. Oh, I like this. So, I could Flare Grunt or I could Lysandre, but I like Lysandre more. Because it requires the energy in hand. Which is not that unlikely, but it's possible. We haven't seen like anything like an AZ either. Oh, there's an energy in hand. So there's the fire energy. So I had a feeling probably played at least one fire. As with Smeargle, there's not much reason not to. So we see the Mega Manectric come up. I wonder if he was waiting until the Giratina was gone to bring up Mega Manectric. So now is where things go to top deck mode. Puts 2 energy on the Smeargle. Wow. So it'd be so cool if I could Lysandre that Shaman, but I still have a feeling there's more energy left. So, and he's probably going to use Mega Manectric to power up the Shaman now. Just so that he can retreat it. But we've got Cassius. So that's really the only viable play. We'll take a hit. We'll probably Fan Club, and then we're just going to see how long we can cycle this. He's only got 5 cards left in deck, but with the expectation of N coming. So we did concede prizes pretty early though, which was unfortunate. I mean, I was surprised by that Giovanni scheme. That was kind of the big thing, I think, that threw me off so much. He's seeing that the smart thing is just to make sure that I don't run him out of energy. Yeah, I think Fan Club's the way to go. We'll just grab 2 things because rather would thin my deck. Though I expect an incoming N. Because technically if he doesn't get the N and we top deck a VS Seeker, we could, and I will, if I top deck a VS Seeker, I'm definitely going for the Team Rocket's Trickery for the win. Question is, does he see that as a possibility? He just Elemental Feathers. If we get the VS Seeker and oh no, no. Well, okay. I don't think he can attack. I mean, the Flare Grunt's big. If he can't attack me this turn with Ho-Oh, it's over. Or it's not over. But we have another chance to get the Team Rocket's Trickery. But of course, this could be the turn where he thinks, okay, maybe I should end. If he doesn't have the energy, he's probably going to choose, okay, maybe I should. Oh, wow. Well, that's interesting. So he does have to go into Mega Manectric, which means I have a chance if he doesn't end me, which would be fantastic. Oh my gosh. We have one more chance to win this. Top deck. Come on, top deck. Come on, top deck. This would be so awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. If we get 2 heads, we win. No! 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 Oh, that's so disappointing. Team Rocket's trickery letting me down again. He's like, yeah, no, I could have top decked. No. Oh, maybe he meant that he could have grabbed the Giovanni scheme. That's too bad, but I think that's hilarious. I mean, live by the flip, die by the flip. That's not really this kind of deck. Okay, so yeah, he's saying he could have used the Via Seeker to grab the Giovanni scheme and take the knockout last turn, but that's kind of what happens with this deck sometimes. You think you have the knockout and you don't just because it's such a beefy Pokemon. But still a good game, and it shows you how the deck works. And even against these decks with tons of basic energy, and this is what I mean, where it's like the basic energy decks are just so hard to beat. But we almost took the win there, and we forced him to do 2,500 damage to us. So, hope you enjoyed that. And I think that that's actually a cool match to show off because it shows the potential of it, and it was kind of an agonizing defeat in the end, but a really fun match. So, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.